coming up on today's Swim episode.
Right. And just one thing I should throw in there about copyright law is that the default view of copyright law is if two or more people create a copyrightable work, then they're equul co-owners. So if you and I write a song together, if we have nothing in writing, then it's automatically, the law sees it that you and I are equal co-owners. So it's important that if...
This is Swim, Success with Music. Yo, what's going on, music fam? This is Walt, and you are listening to Swim, Success with Music. This is a podcast for singers, songwriters, beat makers, music students. We are about the music life. Hey, and again, I welcome you to the show. And we're back as usual, and we are back with amazing information that you absolutely need to hear for you going to the next level in your music career. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment. I am very excited about today. We're going to break up our conversation today in two parts. Conversation with who, you say? It's with a gentleman by the name of Kamal Moo. He's actually out of LA, and he's a music attorney. Yep, that is right, a music attorney. So you're going to get some inside information about the entertainment business, how it actually works, and how you can get into that world and operate like a pro. Hey, man, I'm telling you, this is going to be an amazing two-part episode. So yeah, while we're at it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, because you want to make sure that you hear both parts of this amazing discussion. Hey, before we get into today's show, I want to make you guys aware of something that we've not done ever. I mean, like ever. So if you go over to our main page, our main website, that is successwithmusic.com. Again, that's successwithmusic.com for a limited time only. And I mean this is not some weird, cheap knockoff marketing ploy. This is the real deal. We are giving away the Master Melody course, the Swim Master Melody course, absolutely free. The only thing it will cost you, just being straight up with you, is your email address, a legitimate email address, because what we will do is give you a link to the course in a few days after you sign up. Again, a few days after you sign up, because we're doing this old school. We're sending it out to you manually. We're not using these major monster spam bots to send emails. We got old-fashioned people typing on keyboards, sending out individual emails. I want to make sure you get yours and get access to our course. So yeah, go to the main page, successwithmusic.com. successwithmusic.com. There will be a pop-up box in the middle of your screen. That is where you can simply provide your email address, and we will email you a link in the coming days for the Swim Master Melody course. Last disclaimer, this is around the time that this particular episode 65, is dropping. So if you're listening to archives, 3 years from now, I can't promise you that you're going to get the Swim Master Melody course for free. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say you won't. But it is free now. So go ahead and move over to our website as you are listening to today's episode. All right, so let's get beyond all of that stuff and let's get to our guest today. Again, we are speaking with a gentleman by the name of Kamal Moo. He is based in LA, Los Angeles, and he's an entertainment attorney. And he's just come out with a book called The Straightforward Guide to the Music Biz, B-I-Z. The Straightforward Guide to the Music Biz. And yeah, this book is most certainly on Amazon in digital format and in paperback. Yo, you are about to get some amazing information. Just know, and I have to say this, that today's episode and next week's episode does not count as legal counsel. So please don't run off with this and say that Kamal's your lawyer. He's not, but he is giving you his opinions about certain things. So today is not being provided for you as official legal counsel. Anyways, I think we can get beyond the disclaimers and get to the show. Let's do it. All right. right, Swim Team. Today we have an incredible special guest. His name is Kamal Moo, and he is an expert on legal matters with respect to the entertainment business. If you are looking to take your career to the next level, you are talking to a legal professional who will give you insight as to how to make your career grow, how to get as much money as possible, how to protect yourself. Today is a special episode where you most certainly want to share it. So make sure you do that right now and subscribe to the show and get ready for some amazing information. Kamal, I appreciate you being on the Swim podcast today. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Kamal, help me to understand a bit more about your background. As long as I've been around music, one thing that always comes up will be get an attorney, get legal advice. Walk me through your background, walk our audience through your background so they know just the type of knowledge that you're able to bring and why they should be listening today.
Yeah, well, for me, I wanted to be in the music business ever since I was like 14 years old. I was growing up in Miami, and I wanted to be a record producer actually. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really have the talent for that, I realized. And so then I wanted to get in on the the business legal side. So I went to USC, University of Southern California, for the music industry. Then I went to Southwestern Law School, also here in LA, which has a really good entertainment program. And I studied mostly entertainment law, classes, music law classes. Graduated, passed the bar in 2006. And then the funniest thing happened. My brother's band actually got signed to a record label. Well, they blew up on MySpace, back in the day. And they got offered a record deal, and they needed a manager. Sure. And so I kind of jumped in and started managing them. So I managed for a few years from about 2007 to 2010. Then the band broke up, and I had some other clients too. And then I started my law practice in 2010. So I'm different from a lot of attorneys where my path was more through the management side. That's kind of how I got into the industry and how I learned about the industry, on a hands-on basis. Sure. And then that kind of, I think, helps me as an attorney because it really helps me craft agreements that are more based in the real world and, the realities. Because I've been out there on tour. I've sold merch. I've driven a tour van through a blizzard in Wyoming at 4 a.m. Wow. I've done all that. So I know what it's like for a working musician. Mm-hmm. So it's tough out there. So and that's kind of sort of me in a nutshell. I've been working. I've had my own practice for several years now. Worked with a lot of different clients. Worked on huge multi-million-dollar deals. Worked on a lot of indie deals and everything in between. And so that's sort of a little bit of my background. Awesome. Okay. So let me start here because a lot of the folks who are in our audience, they are aspiring musicians. They are people who are just trying to get to the point where they can monetize their talent and their producing and writing abilities and things like that. When I traditionally have heard about attorneys and heard about music entertainment professionals such as yourself, the first thing that pops up in my mind is $, right? And so my question for you is, for those who are in the audience who may not necessarily have a multi-million-dollar deal in front of them, they're not being picked up by a major label or a major entertainment group, help us understand, at what point in time does it make sense to get a music attorney involved in what you're doing? Well, I always say that, you need to get an attorney anytime there's any kind of contract put in front of you that concerns the rights to your music. So that's a record deal, publishing deal, producing deal, anything, you should get an attorney. And, to your first question, I think that, I understand there's a lot of, people out there's a concept, there's an idea out there that, of course, music attorneys are really expensive. Exactly. And some of them really are. Sure. For me, I always try and make it make sense for the client because, I don't want to turn away a client just because it's a small indie deal. I still want to help them and help them get the best deal possible. So I'll always try and tailor my fees to make sense for the particular situation. Also, too, a lot of times when an artist is signing with a record label, many times the label will pay for the attorney. So in the agreement, there'll be a clause that says, if this deal closes, basically that the label, as part of, the artist's advance, they'll pay some of it to the attorney to cover their fees. So if you're working, if you're going to sign with a major label or well-established label, usually that'll be the case.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Makes sense. So let's get into a few things here. And as mentioned at the very top of the show, you are the author of a new amazing book. Again, it's called The Straightforward Guide to the Music Biz. Again, the title is The Straightforward Guide to the Music Biz. I want to get into a few things that is mentioned here in the book because there's a lot of great information. And but before we jump into it, what's your motivation behind writing this book? What was the driving force for putting together such a comprehensive guide for people?
Well, it's funny because, I feel like half my job is explaining the law to my clients, and I'm happy to do that because, I think that they need to know this stuff. I think they need to understand how these contracts affect their rights. And so I felt like I was explaining a lot of the same things over and over again, like copyright law, music, artist royalties, things like that. And I said, let me put this all into a book. And so the book, actually, I wrote it quite fast, actually. It's about 100 pages long. And it's very concise because it's stuff I've explained hundreds of times over and over and over again to my clients. So I had a really good kind of, short, concise way of, presenting certain topics that was just very easy to communicate. So that was sort of the motivation and why the book is so, to the point, basically.
Got it. Awesome. Okay, cool. So you actually brought up something, and I see this at the beginning of your book here, towards the beginning. You talk about copyrights. As a creative, the subject of copyrights come up all the time, right? I'll give you some typical scenarios I come across. Someone has a really hot song. I'm working on a track here in my home studio, and I really think it's phenomenal, but I'm kind of scared to let anyone hear it because I don't want someone to steal my song. Most people have that opinion, right? They feel like, yeah, this is a chart topper, the next banger that's going to go to Billboard's #1 slot for whatever category. But I want to collab with some people. I want to work with some people, and I don't want my music stolen. So the first thing most creatives think about is copyright. How do copyrights work? What should I know about my song when I create it? Can I let someone hear it? Can it be stolen easy? Walk me through copyright protection.
Right. So copyright, basically all copyright is, it's a concept, a legal concept that says that if you create something that's protectable by copyright, you have certain exclusive rights in that work. So in the music business, there's two main copyrights. There's the musical composition, and then there's the sound recording. So the musical composition basically protects the lyrics and the melody. Okay. And when you go into the studio, make a sound recording like a MP3, like a WAV file. That's a sound recording. Those are two completely separate copyrights, and they can be owned, by the creators. Sure. Now, the issue is, realistically, there aren't a ton of people out there trying to look around to steal music. Because, for example, if you send, a track to somebody to write to, you have, a digital sort of footprint there saying like, okay, well, I sent this person this track, and so you know that they have access to it and so forth. So it'd be kind of, especially in this day and age, it's really hard to steal somebody's music and get away with it. So I wouldn't necessarily be, scared of that happening. It's just, know who you're dealing with, make sure it's trustworthy people, because people who are legitimate in the industry, they're not looking to just steal people's music and take it and do stuff with it. That's not really an issue usually. But, also you want to register your music for copyright protection. You can do it through, there's a website called copyright.gov. It's basically you upload your music, you fill out a form, you pay a fee, and then you can have it protected. Now, granted, those fees can kind of add up if you copyright a bunch of stuff at once. You can copyright collections, but there's limits to that. But if you think you have a really big hit song there, maybe you want to try and register that one right away. So that's the thing. I think, copyright is definitely important. Definitely register your stuff. That's the best way to protect it. Sure. But at the same time, like I said, if you're dealing with reputable people, you're not, it's not a super common problem for people to steal music from each other and just put it out. Okay. So let me ask another question. Now, I'm thinking about hypotheticals that I heard about from people that I've been around and known over the years. Let's say, for instance, I have this really hot song. And I put it up on SoundCloud, or I put it up on YouTube, or what have you. And it's just kind of representative of my work. And let's say someone does, or I think someone takes my song. So I put it up there.
I think it's a phenomenal song. I'm an indie artist, maybe I have 50 views, but all of a sudden, a very similar sounding track shows up with another major artist. What do I do at that point? Can I do anything?
Well, there's a couple things there. There's, first of all, you have to prove that there's substantial similarity between the two and that